KDWN 720 AM and 101.5 FM here in Las Vegas. Our show is produced by Green Alliance and sponsored by NV Energy, who we have some lovely guests in studio today from NV Energy. If our listeners have questions, please call us at 702-257-5396. That's 702-257-KDWN. So today we're talking with Sarah and Cynthia. Sarah, you were telling us about some new terminology, EVTOU. What is that?
Good question. So that's electric vehicle time of use rates. So we've offered rates for electric vehicle customers for a number of years now, and the time of use rate is a huge benefit to customers that have electric vehicles. It enables customers to charge their vehicles overnight at a reduced rate. So it's super beneficial to them. And we have tools to help customers understand not only electric vehicles, but also what rates are best for them. We have our electric vehicle comparison tool that's accessible on our website as well. And you can go online, put in your address and maybe where you work. It'll calculate the miles that you travel, and you can compare a new electric vehicle and a new traditional vehicle, and it'll tell you all the information about how you can do that comparison, what the financials are, what's the best rate for you, a whole bunch of different very useful information for those that are interested in going to an electric vehicle.
That's really handy because a lot of times that's a big leap for somebody to change over to a brand new technology, not knowing, what the future might hold and what decisions they're going to have to make. So that helps a lot to kind of simulate what they're going to be getting into. I think that's really neat.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really great. It'll also tell you where there are electric vehicle charging stations.
Great.
So, if you're concerned about, where can I charge my vehicle, it's going to have all that information for you right there at your fingertips.
That's good stuff. I've spent a fair amount of time looking at my utility bill, and I think your website dashboard is a fabulous dashboard. I use it a lot, and it's interesting to me. It's a business I'm in, but it's still interesting to me, and I think everyone should take a look at their utility bill on your dashboard and get used to looking at that. It tells you a lot of good information and has led me to run things differently in my house to conserve energy and use energy more efficiently. That's all good stuff. So speaking of where you get your cars charged, tell us a little about the electric highway and how NV Energy is partnering with the Nevada Governor's Office of Energy to install DC fast charge stations along the highways.
Absolutely, yeah. We've actually been working with the Governor's Office of Energy. We're into our second phase of the Nevada Electric Highway. In the first phase of the Nevada Electric Highway, we focused on US 95, and we are putting in a total of 5 different charging stations along the US 95 corridor.
How far apart are those?
I don't have the exact address from the first phase, but in the second phase, we're focusing on going 50 miles, but no
every
more than 50 miles.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, right now the first phase every 100 miles from here, from Las Vegas up to Reno. So we've got Beatty, Tonopah, Fallon, and then Hawthorne first, then Fallon, and then into Reno. So, but they may fill in between that every 50 miles as well. So exciting time. That's great.
It sure is.
So I assume with the intent that eventually there'll be electric charging stations every X number of miles across the U.S.
Absolutely.
At least on the main thoroughfares.
Yes, yeah. Volkswagen is kind of the driver of that for good and bad reasons. They had kind of what they call the Dieselgate scandal back in 2015 or so. For the last 5 years, from 2010 to 2015, they were selling turbo diesel injection engines that were kind of cheating on the rate emissions. And after 500,000 vehicles later, they were discovered. And so the FTC, US FTC, hit them with a $2 billion fine. And the EPA also brought lawsuit as well for violating the Clean Air Act. So out of all of that now, there's now $2 billion worth of funds, and in Nevada, I guess at least $10 million that is set aside to build up the infrastructure. But there's an Electrify America program that's by June of next year is going to install about 400 different sites across major highways that will be able to recharge electric cars much faster than we do now. So we're looking at 8 times faster. So a car to go about a range of 100 miles will be able to refuel in like 20 minutes or so.
That's absolutely right. And as part of the phase 2 of this project, we're expanding beyond the 95. So we'll be focusing on also the I-80, the 15, the 50, and the 93 in addition to the 95. So the goal is absolutely to put these charging stations no more than 50 miles apart and make sure that we have what's called DC fast chargers in place, and that's what enables these cars to charge in 20 minutes or less. So it's really going to improve the ability for electric vehicle customers to traverse our state and go into the neighboring states.
Yeah, especially the rural areas. That's going to be the challenge, just getting power out there. And you're providing money to host sites, anybody that wants to help develop, up to $150,000 per site. So that's pretty neat. So the money's coming from Volkswagen, but NV Energy is also making an investment, I think, is in that infrastructure.
That's right, exactly, yes. We do have incentives for host site customers, depending on their power availability. It could vary in amount. But yes, we have incentives specifically for this to help grow this infrastructure in partnership with the Governor's Office of Energy.
The ultimate goal is to be able to do the same thing you can do at a gas station, be able to fill up in like 10 to 20 minutes and have most of your energy there. So that's what we're going to see is we're going from 50 kilowatt stations to 120 kilowatt stations that Tesla uses to 350 kilowatt stations eventually, which is just going to be a huge amount of power that you can dump in there into a car. The cars themselves, the industry is coming along, so the new Porsche and Audi electric cars that are coming out are going from 400 volt to 800 volt systems, and to be able to handle those 350 kilowatt stations. So we're seeing this second wave of electric cars that have more range, up to 200 miles or more, and then the infrastructure that's trying to accommodate that will be able to charge up in less than half an hour.
So Stan, tell us a little bit about that. I don't want to steal any thunder from the end of the show, but people wanting to switch into a new car, what are those ranges now? I mean, they didn't used to be very far, but now they've expanded. So what's a typical car range, electric vehicle?
Right, so the first wave you were seeing about 80 to 100 miles, and the battery packs were 24 kilowatt hours. That's the energy capacity. Now you
basically a commuter car.
Yeah, for around town, and that it would, even with the Nevada Electric Highway, would be difficult to get an early Nissan Leaf to go from here to Reno. But with the introduction of the Tesla vehicles, of course, we started to get bigger battery packs, 3 times as much bigger, and so they were able to go 220 miles up to 300 mile range. And so then you have something that's more like a regular car that you can do road trips in. And Tesla took the lead to establish a whole network of supercharger stations with 4 to 8 stations per site every 100 miles across the country. So that took several years to build out. But for the rest of the cars, we didn't really have that infrastructure until now. And with the Volkswagen Electrify America program, that's kind of the basic skeleton. And then each state is doing their best. We're partnered through something called the REV program with Utah, Colorado, Boise, Idaho, and other things. That's something Governor Sandoval helped arrange.
So tell us about next Friday, September 14th. What's this event?
So on September 14th, we're launching all of our electric vehicle programs. So in addition to the Nevada Electric Highway, we'll have a workplace charging incentive. So we'll actually give incentives for customers that are trying to install workplace charging, multifamily, and fleet chargers.
That's all good stuff. We'll talk some more about that when we come back from our break. We're going to take a little break and we'll be right back to Shades of Green on KDWN.